You're watching the Smartcage podcast with Todd Atkins and Andrew Benjamin of the We Are Rising podcast, the #1 PFL podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for future episodes.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Sign in to confirm you're not a bot. All right, so we're on. All right, Andrew, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, so it's the Smartcage podcast with Andrew Benjamin. He's sick today, so he's in bed. He won't be using his video part. But Andrew, always good to have you. We're gonna kind of talk about the most recent PFL event and the two finals matches. That's usually what we discuss is the matches of the finals. So maybe I'll just let you kind of give me your overall thoughts to begin with.
Well, I thought the show. Well, I guess I'll first off by saying that every time I've gone to cover a PFL show, PFL staff, and all that stuff are always great. They always make everything so easy, so simple. Probably them and Ryzen are probably the best I've worked with in terms of just like everything is organized and everything. Bellator, when I would do stuff for them, holy shit, it was so unorganized. Yeah. I remember I got brought to the wrong room at one time. They thought I was like part of the corner for a Bellator show, and I was like, and then I'm suddenly in like the I think it was the red corner locker room. Like, wait, I'm not supposed to be here. And I had to tell them I'm not supposed to be here. But yeah, no, everybody at PFL's it was great, and the show itself was also great as well. Other than one fight, that was pretty boring. You know, I think that this was definitely one of a great way to start off the the tournament, the finals of the tournament. It was the crowning of a new star in Thad Gene as well. And we got to see a great co-main, competitive to some degree co-main fight for 145. And then all the matches, and like I said, with the exception of one match below, yeah, just all people who came to show off and show off their skills. People who said that they were going to that they were promised a spot in the tournament next year if they won. You can see those post fight stuff on MMA Sucka, who I cover the website, who I covered PFL for. On more of those fighters, but yeah, overall, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, definitely one of the best shows there, and it was a pretty full crowd as well. Definitely near the end, it looked like almost almost all the I won't say it wasn't totally full. I would say maybe they got about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 estimated, from just eyeballing it.
Now, maybe talk about the first semifinal, which was Habalayev versus what's this guy's last name?
Apologize. Who's that again? Sorry, I missed
the featherweight the featherweight final.
Oh, apologize. Yeah. Movlid Kabalayev versus Jesus Pinedo.
Pineda, that's right. Yeah, maybe give me your thoughts about it. I just watched it last night kind of to refresh myself, but I kind of want to see what you thought of it as far as your opinion of the fight. I want to see if it's kind of similar to what I had.
Well, I think it kind of was how we predicted, how these Dagestanis, listen, they're not there to entertain. These Russian Dagestani guys don't come there. They're not there to excite the crowd, to put on a show. They are there to win. And Movaled definitely knew that I don't want to strike with this guy. he got wobbled. I think maybe even knocked down once.
Mm.
Yeah, and he was like, okay, I'm just gonna do my bread and butter, which is wrestling, grappling. And Movilid was totally content. He was totally content with those 5 rounds to go to a decision. But he did see an opportunity for the arm triangle choke, and he took it. So yeah, it was that's exactly how all these guys fight. And it seems like very few guys, other than maybe AJ McKee and Bryce Mitchell, have figured out to how to fight Dagestani Russian type guys. Until then, these guys are just going to dominate 90% of the matches that they're in. Fighter a lot of these guys have to a lot of these fighters have to realize that these guys don't like striking. None of these guys are like, I should say none, but a lot of these, they're just, striking is not what their bread and butter is. And other than oh my God, who was the guy on the USC show last week, the 40-year-old guy who got the who knocked out was it Pratis, I think it was, with the spinning elbow or spinning back fist. Like
There
very
are
few.
there are some that are more striking based. I think like Shara Bullet. Even though he's from Dagestan, he's more striking based, not a
Yeah, but
wrestler.
also he does not regular. If I'm correct, he's not part of like I heard that he's not part of the Khabib team and all that because he refuses to cut his hair.
Right.
So I don't exactly count him, but the guys who are like part of Team Khabib, um, and I'm not gonna say Team Fedor, but like mainly Team Khabib. These guys are not striking guys for the most part.
Yeah,
Striking is their own. Sorry, go ahead.
Umar, Usman and Umar kind of more striking, I would say, because like Umar said when he came to America, his ground skill wasn't good at all. So
Yeah.
I think some of them do have a lot of striking training, but you're right. I would say the ones who are championship level guys, their bread and butter is wrestling.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. It is wrestling 100%. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So that's what we got with this fight. Yeah, and actually, I'll say this: Muhammad did get one good knockdown on Pinedo. I think it was the second round, like right when it began.
The guy Pineda ran right into it, and I just got up, ran at him, and got. It's pretty funny looking, I would say.
Oh yes, yeah. I think that even taught that caught Pinedo by surprise as well. It wasn't like a knockout, like it was not, but like it was just so unexpected.
Yep. I feel like that fight was the less. Looking at it, it felt like Pineda wasn't on that level. Do you
Uh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
do you agree? I mean, I kind of felt like it was the more one-sided matchup of the two that we're going to discuss.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that Pinedo did have a puncher's chance at any second. That was what I think was always going to be the factor is that there was always that chance he could knock out Mavlid. But I, I I get what you're saying, but I on paper Mobile I was picking Mobile to just win like 100%. But again, the strike at Pinedo's was something that Mobile did not want to at all have to deal with. So in that sense, yeah, I guess in terms of overall skill, I get what you're saying. I definitely feel that was on paper at least the more one-sided one fight.
And I forgot to mention this before we started. I'm in the Philippines, so my background, this is the area I'm at, Karasi. So I took a picture of it. So if you guys are wondering why it's there, that's why. Now to get to the main event. Actually, watching it, Storley and Gene, I felt like Storley came on late in the fight. If I was Gene, if you wanted to be critical of Gene, I would say one thing you could be critical of is maybe rounds 4 and 5, Storley got the better of him.
Yeah, I can see that. The thing is that Storley, though, I would say you can make an argument for a split decision maybe 10 years ago,
Yeah.
under the old rules of Unified. But with the thing is that Storley, other than and there was one, I think there was one time where Story had mount, but he immediately Gene immediately reversed it. Um,
Mhm.
there was I think Story no, did Story take his back or was it Gene? I think it was Story who took his back, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, while while Story did have Gene in these somewhat compromising positions, I did not see Storley doing anything to finish, advance, or it was more to hold him down. And the problem is that if Gene is getting out of them and Storley just having them for like a minute or so, I don't see that as like really any sort of dominant performance at all. I just see that as you hold the guy down, but if you can't hold him, if you can't like you have to do like kind of like Muvula did. You have to control for almost the entire round if you want to I think, be awarded like a 10-9, 10-8. But
Right.
what Gene was doing was just total dominance on the feet, striking, damage, combination, stimulating for the strikes. That's what I was trying to think of the word. And and then Storley's stuff was trying to do takedowns, but kind of just holding him. But Gene was blocking him for most of it. So as far as I saw, like it was a clear. It was 5 rounds. So I saw it was clear. I saw maybe except for one round, mostly 10-8s, 10-9s for Thad Gene.
Yeah, I thought Gene, especially like I'd say the first 2 rounds.
Oh, the first. Oh yeah, remember that one time he actually almost had Storley finished. I believe it was the second round or second or third round. I believe it was. And yeah, I remember Gene said, he said that he didn't want. I think at the end of the press conference, he said he didn't want to possibly go too hard in because he didn't want to make a mistake while going. So that's why he kind of didn't really like exude all that energy uh, to try to finish Storley for that. I'll say this though, for a guy who had his first fight at 5 rounds, Gene looked like he was ready for 5 more rounds after.
Yeah, but I would say this. I think the takedowns for Storley came easier in the fourth and fifth than they did in the first three rounds, which is usually the opposite. The wrestler's fresher in the first few rounds and it's harder near the end.
Yeah,
So that was one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, in that Storley seemed to do better in the last couple of rounds than he did in the first three.
yeah. But I think overall though, I think Storley got outclassed by Thad Gene, and it was a really
Oh,
truly a star-making performance by Gene. Listen, coming in as a late replacement, all that stuff, going in undefeated as well. Yeah, this guy is he's only 26 or 7, I believe, maybe 28. Man, I'm looking forward to watching this guy's career just go up from here. I'm so looking forward to it.
yeah, and like I had said before, I mentioned this, I think, offline to some of you guys that when I did an interview with Manny Ramirez, um, who does Manny Rodriguez, I'm sorry, who does Spanish announcing for the PFL. One of the things he had said, and this was a long time ago, even before Thad Gene was entered in this tournament, because he used to work for Bjorn Rebney when he was doing Bellator. And he said, tournaments allow underdogs to become stars, and that really played out with Thad Gene.
Yeah, no, like that's what happens. And listen, if he got limited by Jason Jackson, then listen, that wouldn't have been that it wouldn't have listen, lose to Jason Jackson is not a bad loss at all. But yeah, he came in and he dominated everybody other than Jason Jackson. He really dominated everybody that he faced off against in this tournament.
Yeah. So he's kind of solidified himself as kind of a major player in PFL. So see where he goes from here.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. And did you also? I don't know if you watched the press conference videos, but he also said that he wants to make PFL a destination for MMA. Um, he didn't exactly say that, hey, listen, you may not see me in UFC, but he said that down the line, but he said he wants people to come and see that PFL has fighters on the same level as as UFC. So I gotta admire him for that he's taking the mantle, kind of becoming he wants to be uh in Japanese they say shuyaku, which basically means main character or principal for the PFL, and I admire that he's choosing to do that. Because let's be honest, a lot of these all the Dagestani guys, listen, Dagestani Russian guys, they probably got UFC in their sites just because that's where it seems like everyone goes eventually. With the with Khabib still kind of like semi involved with UFC with ATT, excuse me, AKA, and a lot of the fighters there. So I admire a guy who's saying, and he also brought the point that listen, UFC had to start from the bottom as well. You know, we're starting from the bottom. We're climbing up. Not everything is a success overnight. Things take time. So I at least, I admire that he's honest and that he wants to be a good fighting champion. And he immediately called out, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name already. Um, oh my God, who's the 170 guy who's a Russian guy? I forgot already. Um, Musayev. Yeah, he already called out Musayev. Says, listen, he said he wants to face the best guys. And yeah, got to give him credit for being a fighting champ and all that shit.
yeah, because Musayev is the champion, and he won the tournament. So it'd be interesting to see if they put him in with Musayev right away because he's.
I think that you can headline that for a
Yeah,
uh I think they said they're going to do their championship series in Dubai. They believe that's what. Oh, they're doing a big show in Dubai.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
you can make an argument that Musayev could be one of the best 170s in the world, maybe the best.
I believe
So
he's also undefeated, so that'd be a great hook for the fight as well. Undefeated versus undefeated champion versus challenger, or a guy who formerly won um the PFL tournament. I forgot what year he won, but it'd be against two champions. That'd be cool as well.
yeah, he put Storley away, Musayev. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, he did.
it would be a step up for Gene to be, to see if he's ready. I don't think it'd be bad to make the match personally because if he wins, you know, great. If he doesn't, he just lost to the best guy PFL has at that weight. So
Yeah. Here's the thing is that, a lot of people think I'm surprised that it happens because MMA has tried to be like the antithesis of boxing, but a lot of people gotta stop saying that losses are like the end of a career. Now, it depends. It's how you lose, right? I think that's what I'm saying. Like, it's how you lose. We talked about this on the last show about ego and losing and see where people come back after a loss. Some people don't, but that's on them. So if whoever were to lose that fight, it'd be interesting to see where they go after that. I think.
yeah, maybe talk about, you were there to cover it. Maybe talk a little bit about, what you took away from covering the event, back during like the post press, like you talked about Gene calling out Musayev and things like that.
Um, I guess there's one thing I could say is that all these Dagestani Russian guys are probably the worst people to do interviews with. They give no good answers at all. I can't listen. You can't. You'll get the simplest one sentence answer from them by asking a question, and they are yeah. Thank God they're great fighters though, man, because I don't know how else they'd be able to sell fights. Those guys. What else? Yeah, a lot of the fighters on the bottom part of the card team that looks like they're going to be entered in the tournament for next year. The ones who won. So that's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to, especially because there are some fighters on there who put on some fucking incredible fights. Who looked amazing. So I'm trying to think off the top, like Kyle Driscoll. Um,
Like, I don't know if you remember, but I trained with Kyle. Told y'all I trained with him quite a bit.
yeah, yeah.
When I
Well,
first came back to Oklahoma,
actually,
you
I'll
know.
tell you this as well. So the one thing I will, this is one thing is that I hate MMA fans because they think like, oh, it's the organization who hires referees or hires judges. No, it's not. It's the commission. I don't know who that Italian referee lady was, but she might have been the worst referee since Kim Winslow. Um, did you watch the entire card or only the main portion?
Only part, yeah.
Okay. When she was repping matches on the bottom portion, this I forgot what her name was, but she was repping on the bottom portion. She okay, well, like what was it during the Nate Kelly fight? He tapped out, but she was on the opposite side, so
Hmm.
she didn't see him tap out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, and then there was another one where um
Maybe
it was,
defend
yeah, during the Kyle
her,
Driscoll fight. Sorry, go ahead.
I can maybe defend her there. The guy jumped the guillotine. She was on the opposite side. His hand was underneath the guy's back. He taps on his back. I could see how she wouldn't see it.
It is well. Here's the thing. I could get the problem is that she also made other mistakes. So like, um, there was I think it was during. Did you see Kyle Driscoll's match?
I didn't see it, but I heard he won.
Yeah, he won, but well, first of all, for some reason he won by split decision when he should have clearly won like unanimously. But also like there was part where I forgot who was on mount, but then she stood them up. She did like remember when Kim Winslow did that? She did that, and I was honestly perplexed, like why she did that. You know, they were working whoever was on top. You know, I think that was also another controversial thing as well about the Movlid said he didn't like about the referee and his fight was that they got stood up. But on
Yeah,
that time, what happened was that Movlid was kind of just doing nothing. He was just holding position, wasn't
mm,
really doing anything to advance. But during the Kyle Driscoll match, they were advancing. They or the person who was on top mount was actually doing stuff. So yeah, I don't know who this referee was. I never saw her before, but she was absolutely terrible on a first impression.
yeah. It's kind of hard to understand where these governing bodies find these people sometimes.
Yeah, listen, if her this was her first job as a referee, this was not, you know, she should have done some regionals first as well, um, before getting onto the big stage.
Yeah, sometimes you wonder if they ask these refs
Well,
like,
also, okay, I can just remember.
what,
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. But
what
remember
is your
doing
sport? Because it
no,
seems like you have a lot of knowledge of the sport to begin with.
yeah,
And
I
that's what
do.
I think is why do you want to do this? Why do you want to referee this kind of sport? What is your interest in it? If you don't have interest in it, if you're just there to get a paycheck or maybe you referee some karate fights somewhere or whatever. Yeah,
So
it's
I actually just remembered something. Um, that Saturday was the UFC show. So I wonder if the better referees were already in Vegas or wherever they were for that show. So they had to get like the backup, the backup referees.
right.
That's the only thing I could think of. Because I didn't see any of the regular referees. So I wonder if USC gets dibs on like the regular referees, like the Beltrans and the what was it? Not John McCarthy's, but yeah, the regular referees. before, and then whoever's after that, whoever gets the shitty ones after.
Yeah, I mean MMA is a really complex sport. So to bring in a ref who, doesn't have a good understanding of it, it's going to be really difficult. And
Yeah,
I just don't think that, for whatever reason, sanctioning bodies don't think about that.
yeah,
Maybe it's corruption. I don't know.
that's a good question. I don't know. Um, I don't. I don't know. It's maybe a little bit of corruption. It is, it is MMA after all. So wouldn't be surprised. There's always a little dab of corruption than that there should, that you know in all sports, there's always some weird shit. So just for example, I have a big bold prediction that Crawford Canelo is going to be ruled a draw unless somebody dominates or gets a finish because that happens in all the big fights.
Right.
That happens, yeah. So we deal. It's dealt with in boxing a lot. MMA has to have its corruption as well. So uh, yeah. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question about the show.
Now, when you did the coverage, did you just do like the press conferences, or you interview anybody, or?
They did it scrum style. So didn't really have any time to go one on one with anybody. Jonathan Coachman was there. Your boy Coach was there. And definitely, I don't want to say that Ray Sefo was not a good face, but I definitely feel like Coachman. He talked about more of he. One of the things about growing PFL is also said that one of the things that they do is tell stories. And it's not only through the matches, but also through the promos. And I think he made a really good point in that fighters have to learn how to sell themselves. I think Thad Gene sold the story fight incredibly well. I think I don't know if you watched the origins videos or any of his interviews, but his confidence, but made me a believer. Um, Storley is an old school guy, so he's not really a talker type guy. Uh Pinedo, I didn't think he was gonna win at all, but I still believe he had a lot of confidence that he could. Bublev, all the Russians, they're men a few words, so yeah. So, but I think that's what I took most away from the post fight with Coachman was that there needs to be you can sell fights based on skill to a point, but you got to get people. You got to talk them into the building. That's what I was trying to. Yeah, they got to talk them into the building.
Yeah, I think
Unfortunately,
he was in WWE, so I think he understands that.
okay, yeah, I agree. I agree, absolutely, 100% agree. You know, I know that not a lot of fighters kind of like to go that style, but I think they have to. They should also take. Look at what UFC has done. UFC kind of broke that mold with the whole Conor Khabib out throwing the gate through the bus and all that stuff. You know, I get, some people don't have the personality for that, but some people, you gotta find a way to connect with the audience, if in some way. Just saying, I'm gonna beat this is the best camp I've ever had. I'm gonna make this a great fight. Doesn't sell the fights, unfortunately. If it did, if it did, you know, the every pay-per-view would be doing a million buys. But yeah, there needs to be more. You need to build more to your fights. And I think Thad Gene, if you watch the origin stuff, the way he promoted, the way he gave answers in interviews, he did it perfectly. I don't know if he's a wrestling fan or if he got tips from Coachman, but he did it absolutely the perfect way to do that. He did it with respect, but with confidence.
Yeah, and I think, the promoter has to do some of it also. Um, Fighters can only do so much. The promoter has to at least. I think that's something that's UFC's struggling with is Dana White doesn't seem all that interested. And
Well,
why
yeah,
should
you're
any
right.
fan watch it when the promoter's not even interested in watching it?
Yep, no, I agree. But also, UFC is at a point where they don't need to worry about it,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, so they already made their money, you
Right, but
know.
I think the TV product, if you're going to put someone out there, like Coachman has energy, you put him out there, he has energy. He seems into it. He seems, excited to be doing it. And that's what you want to have, whether you've made your money or not. And Dana White just seems totally disinterested. You can march somebody else out there, you still made your money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At
The other
least
thing
you have
also is
somebody
that
interested.
the other thing that UFC has also been able, since they are the number one organization, they could just say, "Oh, hey, this is number one guy versus number two guy in the world." That's how you sell it, you know. That's how they have that advantage. But
Right.
listen. I don't know how they listen. I do you know some of those fight night ESPN shows. There was no media in those rooms. Did you see the photos that were going circling around? I think it was a Lewis. I think it was the Lewis fights. There was like no media there apparently for those fights.
Yeah,
They
maybe
had
they
the
don't care that anybody's there. I don't know.
well, they've also created a culture where they don't want actual MMA reporters, so that's also kind of on them. Um, they kind of just want influencers, whatever, doing
Hmm.
influencer shit. But I was told that the old UFC press rooms used to be filled
Yeah.
with people. Dave Meltzer used to be there for most of them. I know the Strike Force when it was Gina Carano versus Cyborg. They had what was it? LA Times was there. I think San Francisco Chronicle was there as well. They had TV as well. They had TV reporters there as well. Now, like, yeah, it's not. It's at my thing at the PFL thing. They had the local New Jersey radio station there. But in terms of like, I guess there was actually a French Canadian um publication there as well because there was some French fighters on the card. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of like non MMA ish press there. I noticed, and I think that's how UFC kind of likes it. They would rather have that than be treated like an actual like MMA organization.
Did you say like they had a lot of MMA press there though?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of MMA press there as well. I was representing MMA Sucka. There were some other ones there as well. There's also a lot of things that also you have people who just have like Instagram channels who just post like short snippets of interviews with captions and with that music in the background that you hear for like so many like interviews, and that's just their thing. And that gets clicks. So I get it why those guys get invited because those guys get lots and lots of clicks. A fighter says something that goes viral. Listen, man, you'll get 5,000 likes or something, and then you can monetize it or whatever. So that's that there, I didn't see Junkie there or what's the other one? Fighting was there. So I didn't see like I guess any of the big ones there. SB Nation, Uncrowned certainly was not there. So yeah. Um MMA Sucker may have been the biggest one. We may have been the biggest one MMA pure MMA organization that was there.
Now, before we get to the next card, I wanted to ask you about, you got PFL Johannesburg coming up, so second Africa event, and they just announced that they're opening up South America region. It just feels like they're making more moves than the UFC, even though,
Yeah.
like we said, UFC's already got their money, they don't really need to make moves probably, but it feels like they're, where the UFC goes to these different places, but they don't. set up any roots other than the U.S. And I just find it interesting that PFL's already opened up all these regions, and it's making it more of a global entity, or at least trying to.
Um, you kind of answered the question itself there. UFC doesn't need to
No,
do that.
your
Sorry.
opinion, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's great. I love it. And then you get to have like kind of like these offshoot kind of like PFL I was about to say LA, Latin America, PFL Africa. It's a great way to discover talent. They get fights. They get cage time. Yeah, I kind of like it. It was a little bit it wasn't as similar to what Bellator was doing, but I think Bellator could have kind of done something similar, with the PFL Europe thing. If you want to even count PFL Hawaii, I think you could kind of count that as well. They could PFL had something there. I'm sorry, Bellator. I said PFL. Bellator had something there, and I just because you know people there weren't the smartest people in the world, they just didn't capitalize or saw like, okay, we can maybe do something like that. But it's great that PFL is trying to doing this, and these fighters are clearly it's the biggest shot of their career. I didn't look at I didn't look in depth at the records of the fighters, but they're all over 500. So and there's no disparate, 10 and 0 guy taking on a 2-1 guy. So they're pretty much even records for the most part. So it's a great way to discover talent. It really is, and I admire that PFL is trying to do something with that. I wish, UFC does not need to do that. Unfortunately, they got LFA, they got CFFC, whatever, Shuto Brazil on Fight Pass. But this is the way forward for an organization like PFL that's trying to expand. And hopefully we can get some great talent from those areas.
Yeah, and what I think they could do, if what I would do if I had all these regions, is you could run just like they're doing now. You run a tournament where you have what is it, 4 or 5 weight classes they're doing right now. You could
Yeah,
do one region just like that, and then at the end you take the champions of all those regions, all those tournaments, and put them in one big tournament. Now we're going to crown an overall champion.
yeah. Well,
You
an
know,
overall. So when you say overall champion, do you mean for the year or for like?
a world
Uh,
champ. You could do it. Depending on how long it takes you to get the tournaments out of the way.
mm,
You do it a few months after, or decide how long you want to do it after. 6 months, 5 months. Start the new tournament, world championship tournament. Maybe
yeah.
every or something
The,
like
the
I.
only que- so the only question is though is then like what's with the so are we gonna have the former Bellator champions like are they gonna be kind of stuck? Are they gonna kind of like is it gonna kind of be like they're gonna be like in their own universe type thing? Kind of like almost like a spin-off. Oh, not a spin-off, but like I guess their own timeline. They're not gonna be involved in anything PFL proper related.
What I would like to do is get everyone in the tournaments, and have it be a tournament product. We do our tournaments, then we have our world championship tournament.
Hmm.
Then we do the process again, the following year or every couple of years, however long it takes to do it, you know, however,
Yeah,
how many weight classes you want to do, you can figure that out. But what I would like to see it do is be a tournament product, because like you watch the NBA, NFL, it's not like the team that won the Super Bowl last year doesn't play in the NFL next year and wait for whoever comes out of the
yeah,
NFL playoffs and say, okay, we're going to play that team. No, they play again. They have to go through the playoffs again. They have to have a good season, then they have to get in the playoffs. They have to go through the playoffs and get the Super Bowl again. So yeah, that's what I would like to see
yeah.
ultimately.
I mean,
I be done.
that's a good idea. I do think that it should. Well, at this point, I don't know if you want it. I feel like to just be so. I feel like you can't just be an MMA organization anymore. You have to offer something different. That's what makes PFL good is the and different is the tournament structure. And I think they got a much more streamlined tournament now that makes sense to the average person. I kind of, if you want to have, those regional Africa, Latin America fights that don't have like that maybe have a tournament structure or don't, I'm fine with that. But I kind of feel like that the emphasis should be more on the tournament itself. And if that means getting rid of those former Bellator titles and all that stuff, I think I have no problem with that. You have to show that you're different in MMA world. Just having fights doesn't sell. It's got to be something different for that to make me watch.
Right. Yeah. And I think to crown a world champion, you got to have a tournament that includes the world. You know what I mean? That's why I think it'd be good to bring all the champions from the various locations and have one big tournament like Bloodsport, where you're representing these different regions.
Yeah, I guess that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Thing is, only is PF. You think PFL is conducive? It can kind of run up because this sounds like this would be like a lot of shows. Do you think that it can fit that their type of organization that can run that high amount of shows?
Well, I mean, you need to have a show almost every weekend to compete with the UFC. Because what
Hmm.
the UFC does is they can put content out every weekend. And if
Yeah.
they're doing White's Contender Series, they can put it out even more than that. Because they do that during the week.
Also, don't forget that there's a lot that fans are starting to have backlash on this whole UFC thing, on this whole US card every week on UFC thing. So that's why I like about PFL is that there isn't. And then if there is a show like an Africa or Latin America show, you don't necessarily have to watch it. And plus you can see on the app as well. That's the other thing as well. So if you have that, that's something you could save to watch on a rainy day or something. But it's nothing that's like it's nothing that will be that you'll have to kind of like watch to make your subscription uh charge worth it, I guess, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I'm kind of glad that they don't have a show every week. It would be I think people are starting to get content fatigue. I think we're starting to see that with so many things now. People are just kind of gaining like, oh, I have to devote 700 hours a week of my life to keep up with this wrestling thing or this MMA thing. I think people are really starting to not like it. So that's why I'm kind of like PFL has a nice. I like that its schedule is not as brutal to me as a viewer.
Right, but I think the reason they're getting tired of it with the UFC is you're picking from the same roster. You have
Hmm.
X amount of fighters on the roster, and you're using them to fill 100 shows, however many shows you're doing a year. As to where PFL, if you have these different regions, you have a roster in each region, really. They're not all part of the same roster. They're separate in a way because you have an Africa section, you have a South America section, Europe section. So you can get a different set of fighters than you would get, from week to week to week to week.
Mhm.
As a
Again,
word, you're
I have
picking
no.
pile.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, as long as like it's not something that like I have to watch on ESPN every week, I'm a little bit more fine with that. But if it's like, oh, we're gonna get like a PFL fight night every week, it's gonna be just more more stuff that's just gonna be like, in my opinion. Because here's the more stuff you put in, the less that will matter and the less effort you'll put in. That's also what you're gonna will be the consequence.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward, as they're growing this entity.
Yeah, I was hoping that that UFC was going to leave ESPN because then I think PFL could MMA ESPN could start actually promoting them. But now they're going to still be on ESPN. It looks like PFL is going to be on the back burner once again. Because let's be honest, they're not getting any promotion from PFL from ESPN. I can't say PFL, ESPN because UFC is there, and I have no doubt there's probably something simply in the contract that ESPN can't promote any other MMA besides UFC.
Yeah,
So
needs to get off ESPN. I
yeah,
don't know where to go, but they need to get their own home.
I mean, I don't know who would take an MMA thing now. MMA isn't exactly hot. That's the one thing that Ariel Hawani said that was probably right recently on his show was that MMA now is on a downswing, not an upswing. And I have to agree with him that if this isn't we're not getting Affliction or whatever on CBS and then Strike Force on Showtime, Bellator on this isn't that era anymore. That era and whatever on the Fight Channel, Lions Fight. That era is gone. Probably not coming back either.
If Netflix would take the UFC because of the price point, I would assume that's why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they would take PFL, because they wouldn't have to pay PFL as much.
Probably, but now that TKO has WWE on there, see, this is the problem now. So this was I forgot who said it, but the reason why TKO is divvying up UFC and the WWE stuff to like different entities is that will prevent those companies, entities, channels, whatever, from then getting other stuff that's similar to that. So like essentially they're basically either signing a contract that says that they can't get any other competition, or it's implied that oh, we have UFC on our channel, we have WWE SmackDown on our channel, therefore we can uh no more other wrestling's allowed, no more other MMA's allowed. So I think that's gonna be a lot harder in the future, man. With TKO having such uh a thing, having so much power over everything.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good, interesting future discussion, after some research. Where should PFL go? You know?
I don't know, man. I don't know if ESPN got rid of it. I have no idea how you would how they would do it. I don't know where they would go, quite honestly.
Hmm.
I don't know. Do you have any ideas? Like what would be like a good channel for them? I honestly I or a streaming service. I don't know.
Uh,
Because you want to stream, because here's the thing, you want a streaming service that's going to pay them money to be on. You don't want like a one thing where they're paying to be on the streaming channel, and that's the biggest dirty secret is that, um, one when they were on TNT, that was buy time for them. They were paying for that. They were paying for that.
yeah,
Amazon actually could be the only one. Actually, now I think about it, Amazon could be the only one that would be like legitimate. They're big enough that they can turn down, or they can maybe have some sort of a stay and like, oh, listen, if TKO, if WWE had something on Amazon, I'm pretty sure Amazon would have enough pull where they say, no, we can have whatever we want on this on our service. So honestly, now I think about the only one that would be a viable, good option for PFL would be probably Amazon.
maybe Amazon or maybe Fubo, which is pretty big sports platform.
See, I understand that Fubo is a big one, but also I think Prime maybe Prime. I think actually besides Netflix is the highest subscribed
Mhm.
thing because a lot of people don't. So that's the thing is that a lot of people are subscribed to Prime and they don't really watch anything on there, but they have it because of the shipping, the free shipping stuff.
Right.
So I think just by numbers, it would be better to be on Prime than Fubo. I don't know anybody who watches Fubo to tell you the truth. I know all it has is like soccer and football, whatever you want to call it. But I honestly don't. I honestly don't have. I don't know any friends. It's like Apple TV. I have no friends that I know that have actually Apple TV.
Maybe they could do YouTube TV, or YouTube, whatever they're doing,
That's
and
true.
get.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's options. Because staying on ESPN, you're right. It feels like they're always going to be out of the UFC.
You know what it feels like? Okay, I might be dating you here. Well, I'm dating both of us. Do you remember that there was a show called Briscoe County Jr. on Fox way back in the 90s?
I don't know if I remember it.
Okay, so they place it on a deaf time slot, but they put on a time slot that was right after X-Files. So here's the thing. What did everybody tune in for on what did you think everybody tuned in when they were getting to watch the TV on the deaf time slot as soon as Briscoe County Jr. was ending? It was X-Files.
Right.
Because they strategically put it in a place where it was like, okay, we just gotta put this show somewhere, and we don't care about it, but we care about X-Files. So let's give X-Files the prime time slot while we'll put this show on the death time slot. So that's what they did, and then the show ended after 2 seasons and got no love until like 20 years later when people rediscovered it. So that's how I feel like ESPN treats PFL. They just treat it as something they got put on the thing, and they don't care if like volleyball goes overtime or whatever, and they'll and that all that shit. It's clear that there's no that ESPN does not give a fuck at all, unfortunately, about PFL. And so it'd be great, yeah, if they went on to like an Amazon where like they could get like an uninterrupted time stuff like one does and all that. So yeah, hopefully they leave. Even though I get why they're on ESPN because ESPN is perceived as like the biggest sports channel and all that stuff, so I kind of get it. But yeah, I also hate ESPN Plus so much. It is a worthless app. It is absolute garbage.
Yeah. Mine's worked pretty good, but I hear a lot of people have trouble with it.
There's always something like, and then also when I exit out of it, it says that I'm like, oh, you're signed into more. Too many people are signed in. So I have to then restart my phone, which resets, I guess, whatever, my cookies or whatever, and then I can sign back in. So yeah, it's an absolutely hard app. I hate it so much.
Now, let's get to the next card with PFL, or the next tournament card, that is, which would be
Yeah,
the light finals, women's flyweight, and men's bantamweight.
yeah.
So lightweight finals, I feel like this is similar to Pineda and Hablaev, and that you got Davis or Rabadanov. I feel like not many people are expecting Davis to win. So I feel like it's the more lopsided of the three fights. What do you think?
Just for my brain, so that I can just want to get up. I want to look at it on my phone right now as I'm talking to you. Sorry about that. Just so I can. Okay, yeah, Rabanov and Davis. Yeah, I think that's an incredibly one-sided fight. Rabanov like is going to walk through Davis. Um, I feel like Davis has less of a chance beating Rabanov than Pinedo had beating Movlid. Um, Davis is a fine fighter. That is all I can say. But if you look at the people who's beaten him, Barnaby, Shabili, um, yeah, listen, he's beaten some good guys. He beat Premise and Collard. I'll give him that. But when it comes to the level above those guys and him, he does not win against those guys. So I have to pick Godzi like by an easy win. I think he finishes in by round one or two. And Carmouche and Bishop, listen, uh, I don't think I think Bishop has more of a chance to beat Carmouche than Davis has Rabanov, but I still have to go with Carmouche.
Yeah,
He
I just
just
strength.
yeah.
Oh, the strength that she has, the power that she has, physical power. It's going to be tough for, if she wins, I think it'd be a tough fight for Dakota too.
Yeah, but also like just the fight IQ as
Right.
well. Just you kind of have to not say that Jenna Bishop has no fight IQ.
Right.
Um, and she's only lost to like two of the best, Tacheva and Santos. But there's she has a very similar record to Thad Jean, but I think Jean, at least when I was watching him, he displayed he just Gene displayed many factors of what I think a veteran UFC fighter does at such a young age, which is amazing. I don't see that Bishop is doing that yet.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just Carmouche by strength and also just by veteran stuff. Like I can't see Bishop knocking out Carmouche. I certainly can't see her submitting her. So I honestly can't. I'm trying to work out my brain. How does she beat her? And I honestly can't think of you know maybe she checks a kick or something by Carmouche and Carmouche breaks her leg. That's the only thing I can think of. Honestly, like I'm not trying to denigrate Bishop's skills, but just I can't think of what path to victory she can have. Honestly.
Where she has an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she has an advantage anywhere. I think Carmouche is so much more advantage in every facet of MMA than Bishop. Now, this is a pure grappling match. Maybe I pick Bishop in that case, but this is MMA, and yeah, MMA I think favors Carmouche.
Right. Yeah, and I think now the third one, bantamweight finals, we got Alves versus Wetzel. This one, I'm going back and forth. I could see Wetzel dominating it if he gets a takedown like he did in his last couple fights, where he's just getting on top and dominating. But I could also see it being the most competitive of the three.
Yeah, I don't. I think Wenzel looked pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Um, but the top one. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Uh, Alves though is just he's how to describe him. He's like a guy. He okay. You could take it's fine. Taking down can work if you're not getting punched in the face so much. And I think that's what Alves brings is just he kind of just brings us this aggression, this and just this in your face, you know, not gonna let you take a breath style. And I don't know, can Wetzel I don't know if Wetzel takedowns work a lot better when you're not tired. So if Alves is just pounding this guy, Wetzel was likely to make a lot of mistakes when going for a takedown. So I think I'll say this one's a little bit tougher to pick, but I'm probably got the edge on Alves. Uh, Takedowns are fine when you get them, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to take down. What is it? What's the old saying? You punch a black belt in the face, they become a brown belt. You punch him again, he becomes a purple belt. Those takedowns become less and less good, less and less successful the more you get punched.
Yeah, it was just that Wetzel got him really easy, his last two fights. So that's what I'm wondering if he can do that again. If
Yeah.
he can, he would win the fight pretty handily. But if he can't, that's where we would see it be maybe advantage Alves if he couldn't, because Alves is striking.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100% agree. I 100% agree on that. Oh, but I'm just also looking at the rest of the card. There's actually some pretty good fights also that they have on the undercard for that show as well.
Right. Yeah. That's what I said, when you're having these various regions, now you're kind of having separate rosters. It's
Mm.
not one roster. It's kind of like separate rosters, and you can kind of pick from these various pools to
Yeah.
organize your tournament. So, yeah, I think they got a lot of good fights, and I'm just like we had talked about before. I'm looking forward to the finals. I think the tournaments did the job in terms of making some finals that were interesting and had some contrast. Rather than just two strikers versus each other, two wrestlers versus each other. I think it ended up with some good contrast in most of these finals.
Oh yeah. I don't know if there's as much. I'll definitely say so far on paper, the Jeans, Storley, Pinedo, Kabulaev one was so far the most interesting. I'll say it's more interesting than the one coming up, at least. Especially with the question about Thaddean, but I still think it'll be a good show overall. I think it's going to be another, I think it'll definitely be another star-making PFL final, and we'll hopefully get to see these guys next year as well.
And I think if you look at the overall tournament, like if we say if Gene fights Musayev, that's a very interesting fight. If Carmouche wins the tournament, fights Cheva, that's a very interesting fight. I think the tournaments themselves are the person that comes out versus the champion is going to be a pretty interesting fight,
Yeah.
I don't know who the champion of Godsey's division is, but Godsey versus anybody is interesting just from the standpoint of watching him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, you got these guys out there, and I think the term is doing the job of giving us at the end, if the fights are made with the champion, they produced a quality winner.
Yeah, so far we've had no weight misses for the finals. We've had no shenanigans where somebody got injured or couldn't fight with the finals. So far they're run very smoothly so far. So far. So
Yeah.
let's hope that good luck continues.
Yeah, alternative to the UFC, like I said, like you were saying earlier, I think PFL is a product.
I think more importantly, also though, is that people bitched and complained. I'm gonna say bitched and complained and whined that they hated the old tournament structure. PFL changed it. PFL they also complained about elbows. I don't know why you'd want elbows like in not in matches that are part of the tournament because the whole point, that's there's a reason why because they cut open somebody and then that person wins, they can't fight who's cut open. So, but they allowed elbows in the tournament matches as well, non-tournament matches too, not just for the finals. So I'm not so sure what PFL's they've done exactly. They released the fighters. Remember, they released a whole slew of fighters. People were saying, "Oh, you're not going to use these guys. Release them, release them, release them." And then they got released, and you know just because GFL was a failure does that's not PFL's fault. So, you know, yeah, they've been responding to fans' concerns, I would say much more efficiently than I would have thought that most organizations do. So good on them. Good on them for that.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, being different, being an alternative to the UFC, they're the only product out there that's doing
There is,
that.
yes, I mean, like if you want to say that Ryzen's doing something different by having a ring for some shows and the whole Pride quote whatever thing, Japanese fighters, that's the only other thing. But then like, there's no other major organizations that are really doing. I mean, KSW maybe is doing. KSW is weird because like I don't know. I guess you could for Poland and Europe, they're big enough, and that's fine. Same with Octagon, but I don't know. It's just they kind of just they're kind of just doing MMA with the occasional freak show fight, but just in Europe. But PFL is just doing something entirely different that no other organization is doing right now, and I applaud them that they're doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of these finals play out. Um, and I'm looking forward to if they do the fights with the champions, those will be, like I said, just as interesting. So I think it's working in terms of what they want it to do.
100%, yeah, 100%. I gotta agree with that.
Now, what do you have coming up on your content?
Well, once I get my voice back and my congestion over with, we're gonna be doing 10 years of Ryzen. We're gonna be doing a bunch of shows focusing on the best and worst of what Ryzen has done in the last 10 years. Trust me, I will be talking about UFC dreams. Todd, I will not let that. I will not let that. I will not ignore that. I can assure you that. There's that, and then the Rise of 51 show in September, but that's a while from now. And then might be some interviews in between now and then, but other than that, that's basically just 10 years of Rise and what will be next coming up.
Yeah, and I'm going to go up to Baguio next week. I already talked to the gyms up there, Lions Nation, and now they have it's kind of like a combination now with this gym called Landslide MMA training facility.
Mm-hmm.
The guys were Pachiao and Edward Folleng, and those guys train. So
Yep.
they call it Landslide because Baguio's had some landslides. They tend to have some landslides up there. So
I see. I gotcha.
maybe I'll do some content up there, perhaps. Should be pretty cool.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll get some fights. Some of those guys, they won't be
That would be the
prisoners.
down. One went out of business. It'd be hard for guys in the Philippines and some of these other places that have been able to
Yeah.
make a name for themselves.
Listen,
Unless
mhm.
the PFL or somebody moved in.
But also here's the thing is that just like this is one of the things that I don't get. Like, not every listen. If let's just say I don't know how many MMA fighters are on one's roster. Let's just say there's 400. Okay, that's 400 fighters. Okay, I don't know where half of these fight. How many? The most. I'm trying like people. We have some people in Discord that can be like, "Oh, Ryzen should sign them." Like, what will Ryzen get out of signing On Long's song? Absolutely nothing. That's nothing on him as a fighter, but just like there's nothing that he could do in Ryzen. Like, would UFC hire him? No, because he's way past the age that UFC looks for fighters. And would he's too good for Road to UFC, so he wouldn't go to that. I don't even know if PFL would take him because he'd be way too old. Uh, and I for that. So a lot of those Filipino guys, a lot of those Burmese guys, a lot of the guys from Southeast Asia are gonna get fucked so bad. Because I just don't see, other than Road to UFC, I don't think a lot of those guys have a path towards like a sustainable MMA career, unfortunately. That's why
Well,
I don't want to see one go out of business so like so many people. I would rather just somebody else takes it over and just whatever. Does something better.
what if one goes out of business and PFL makes it PFL Asia?
Mm, um I'd be fine with that, but from the people it seems that they book for their Africa shows and the Europe shows, with the exception of maybe like one or two names, they don't seem to go with like established guys. It seems to be people that are just up and coming. A lot of those guys from one have like already 20, 30 fights. And some are in their 20s, 30s. So I don't know if they would fit into what I think from the way that they're doing PFL, whatever country, that they would fit in that and what they're looking and those type of fights. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, maybe they could take someone like, say, Pacquiao and put him in like a championship series.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they like to go with people that haven't been on the big stage, have been not been on a big stage already, just like very like new prospect. That's what I like. They want to definitely take like already people that are prospects for that. Yeah, for Pascal they could do something like that. I feel excuse me, I feel like. But again, then like what happens to the Jared Brookses, the all the long songs, the Roogs, the Malikins. Oh, Malikin would go like right to UFC. I think he's the only guy that he's like one of the few guys that'd be like welcome into UFC like with open arms.
Oh, I think
But
it would also.
who is that? Sorry.
You don't think Rug would be welcome in the UFC or PFL?
Maybe PFL. Roog. How many fights has he had? Like only 4 or 5. Well, he's heavyweight as well. Heavyweight is okay. I think heavyweight can be you can make an exception for. Like okay, let's go. Like I could see some of the lower weight guys 125ers, 135ers go to maybe Ryzen. I don't know where John Lineker would go. I doubt UFC would take him back. I think Lineker would be great for PFL, for example, but I don't know if he's even doing MMA anymore. He's
Right.
like doing kickboxing. I don't know what would happen to Adriano Morales or oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm forgetting the other guy. Sorry?
Where would Stamp go? I mean, Stamp is huge.
That's the other thing as well. Yeah, like where do all those atom weights, the only place that they can go to is Invicta. Let's be honest, Invicta is not taking like any of them. Or Ryzen, and Ryzen's atom weight division is basically dead at this point. Maybe one of those fighters could get the occasional fight in deep, maybe, but I have no idea what I feel. Those are the fighters I feel so bad for the most is those atom weight fighters, because there's no organizations that would probably take them. Unfortunately, they would have to move up the straw weight, and Stamp would be a hell of a tiny ass straw weight, and would probably be destroyed by any straw weight who maybe's I don't know top 30 or 40. And you know what? PFL want to do a straw weight women's thing. I would be all for that as well, or women's straw weight too.
Or if they open up in Asia, then they make an atom weight class.
Yeah, that too as well. But again, I don't. Would they put at what would they do if they're doing kind of just these prospects? Oh, if they do a champ. Okay, if they do a champion series, then yeah, you can get away with it. But if you don't, if they're just doing a PFL Asia like they do in the other shows, I don't see them putting in a stamp type in that.
Yeah, it's tough. It'd be really crappy for the people fighting in one,
That,
fighting over,
that's
especially
why
in
like I just hope somebody I hope one is bought out by someplace or just it gets new management. That would be the much better scenario. Let the Qataris take it over maybe or something and just operate it as a tax haven or something in Singapore or something. Just yeah, it's not good if it goes out of business.
yeah, that would really because those people really weren't known by anybody, until one came in. Stamp wasn't really known. These guys from the Philippines, some of these other fighters, no one knew who they were. Rod
No.
Tang. We didn't get to see these great fighters until one came along.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
We weren't. Thailand was already exposed to him, but we weren't.
and this will probably get a lot of the kickboxing fans upset. But with all due respect, one has done more for kickboxing and Muay Thai recognition overseas than anybody else.
Yeah.
It's just by being on Amazon Prime, you get more people to see that stuff, and it's probably the most eyes that kickboxing has ever had. Since maybe Lions fight, uh, outside in America. So yeah, don't let what one needs to be restructured, not go out of business. It's got to get just like new management.
Yeah, the other thing is, it would suck to see somebody like not just Stamp, but like Rod Tang, who's probably to me, one of the most exciting fighters to watch in combat sports.
Yeah, but I think Rodtang will be Rodtang will be fine. He'll get offered something for Rise kickboxing or maybe even Ryzen. He can also just retire as well. I'm pretty sure he's made his money and all that. But I'm worried about the fighters that are not like the Rodtangs or those ones. Those ones that have still a full career ahead of them and are still in their prime and not being able to do anything, not being able to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rate will get offered. He's already had 200 fights. So if he leaves one, he'll get another 200 fights in at Raja Demmer Stadium, whatever it is, for
Yeah.
one of those organizations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, and Andrew, as always, it's great to talk with you. Appreciate you taking the time. You always do great content with this stuff. And tell people where they can find your channel right quick.
Yep, We Are Rising podcast on YouTube and Spotify and SoundCloud. Please also subscribe, the Twitter, follow the Twitter at We Are Rising Pod, and follow my work when I cover PFL stuff on MMAsucker.com.
All right, Andrew. Well, it's great talking to you, and we'll check out the next tournament here in a few days. I think it's next week. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll
As
hopefully
always,
be better then. I'll have my voice back by then.
make sure you check out Andrew's YouTube channel, and everyone who's watching the shows, appreciate it. And until next time, catch you.